Hey,
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 what's
what's
up?
up?
What's
What's up?
up? How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you?
I am freaking phenomenal, blessed, happy, grateful, intentional. Despite all the madness that's happening, I am in good spirits, feeling good, and
That's
super
awesome.
grateful.
That's awesome. Same here,
Yeah.
and that's part of why I wanted to have this conversation today because I feel like people need, your message and the hope that you always talk about.
Thanks.
I don't know if do you also have me on your phone?
You're on my phone right now.
Okay, maybe there's a little bit of an echo with the speaker.
Oh. Um, my computer is open. Does it sound like it's hard to hear me?
I can hear you okay, but when I talk, there's a bit of an echo.
Is that better?
Let me see. No, it's still there,
Oh
but it's okay.
no.
It's not the end of the world. It's okay.
Okay,
We'll
okay.
make it work.
You sound good to me. That's all I'm
Okay,
saying. You sound good
perfect.
to me.
Well, you sound good on this end as well. Thank you so much again for your time. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you're very busy. And, I've been following you for a while. I appreciate all of your content and just super inspirational and motivational, but also strategic as well. It's not just fluff. It's also like, you give away a lot of really good tips. And just the other day, your thing about posting and social media and how to just everything, it's very strategic. So I appreciate you for that. But for those of us that don't know who you are, can you please just kind of tell us a bit of your story and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so the quick version. Hi, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Sarah Fontenot, and I'm from Canada. I'm from Regina, yes, Regina, not Regina, Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. And I moved to Los Angeles to pursue acting. So I always let people know, like, first and foremost, I'm a cliche. It is what it is. I was one of those people that had this big dream, but I really feel that everything happens for a reason. And it was my dream that helped me slip and fall into entrepreneurship. And I started in entrepreneurship with network marketing. To be honest, I built up to the 1.6%, top 1.6% of the company. Loved it. It was great. But God was saying, Sarah, different. Something different. There was a different crowd that I was excited to talk to. And so 3 years ago, I started doing high ticket one-on-one coaching. I have a mindset motivation apparel t-shirt line. I have an online course for entrepreneurs who feel like there's not enough time, there's not enough money. Well, I'm going to show you how to make the time so you can make the money and give you direction to get started. And for me, hey, thank you so much for jumping on, guys. For me, I feel like it's not strategy. Like so many people, so many entrepreneurs out there feel like, well, I want to be successful, but the problem is not you're lacking strategy. It's not you're lacking resources. It's not you're lacking all of the stuff. It's us. Because success works, right? We know that it works. There are so many successful people. There are so many like millionaires around you. You don't even know, right?
Right.
And so what I would really love to focus on, and what my heart is, yes, I get to the strategy, yes, I get to the tools, but my heart is really for people to tap into their best selves and do what they want to do and be who they were called to be. And for me, I'm so passionate about who is it that you want to be, because so often in society we're asked these questions like, well, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? And that's great, but the what is connected to achievement, and achievement does not give you fulfillment or purpose. Whereas who do you want to be gives you that purpose point. And if you're doing it in a way that is strategic, that is targeting people, and you're solving people's problems, you can make money from that. And now you can earn more doing what you actually love, instead of thinking, oh my God, I got this job everyone told me I was supposed to get,
Right.
and I'm not happy. There's so many people that are not happy out here.
It's so good. And I think this current situation is highlighting that, there are some people that will go back to their career when this is all over and be happy. And then there's other people where this is a chance to pivot, even though it seems
Yes.
like an emergency, it seems like a crisis. And for some people, for a lot of people, this is a crisis. For some people, this is a wake-up call and a
Huge.
window of opportunity to make some changes. So how did you, obviously that's a great message, but how did you get to that point where you realized it was about who you wanted to be, not so much what you wanted to do?
I feel like again, it was life experience, right? I always say it's like weights in the gym. Life experience just adds more weight, and the more experiences, usually negative experiences, you have, the stronger you're able to get. And so I realized it was who I wanted to be, because I didn't feel, even in network marketing, in my company, I was doing really good, you know, like I was in it. And when God told me, Sarah, you should be doing this, I was like, oh no, surely God, that's for that person down the street. Like that message is not for me. Like I'm traveling the world. I'm making good money. I'm making an impact. But I knew that there was something that was missing. And so for anyone that's on this live or gets a chance to hear this live later, I would ask you to ask yourself, do you feel like there's something missing? And if you do, I can almost guarantee you it's because you're not being in purpose on purpose. Only broke people think money makes you happy. I swear to you. It is, money does not buy you happiness. It buys you choices, which can help with happiness, but it's not the end all and be all. And so I figured out that it was the who through my own experiences of this doesn't feel right. Something in my core was like, this isn't it for me. This is a part of it. This is in the equation, but it's not the actual answer. It's not my ending point.
Right. Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of people make that mistake, right? Whether it's, you know, becoming a doctor or going to school or whatever goals they had because of culture, because of their parents, because of, you know, whatever. And then so many people get into those goals having invested so much time and energy, realizing it might not be what makes them happy. And so on one hand, disruptive economies like right now, obviously can be devastating, but they also can highlight for people, on one hand, the traditional way of going to college, getting a job, working there for 40 years, having a nice little life. Those days are kind of over for most people, right?
Yeah.
So on one hand, you know, you're sad to see that era go, and you're sad because a lot of people will be affected by that. On the other hand, there's more opportunity than there's ever been before to reinvent yourself, to use the tools that are available to grow your network, to grow your business. So it's really all mindset, right? So I actually didn't get to tell you this, but I did the opposite of you. So I grew up in California, the Bay Area, but then I went to Canada for school. And,
what?
Yeah, right outside of Vancouver, BC. It was a church-based school.
Way cooler than Regina.
Vancouver is a little bit cooler than Regina, yes.
Way.
But I have some friends I have a friend that lives in Saskatchewan right now. I have some friends from Manitoba, so shout out to the prairies. Shout out to the prairies. Yeah, for sure. Most. I'll admit that when I first moved there, I was also an ignorant American. So living in Canada for 2 years, I learned quite a bit. And it definitely, it was a wake-up call. It taught me a lot about just cultural sensitivity. And what I love about Canada, as an American, and I'm proud to be American, but at the same time, like, it's very American-centric. Like our media, everything that we do, we're kind of us and then everybody else. Whereas I feel like Canada has a much more broad, kind of worldwide mindset. Their news is different. Their school is different. It's a little, I don't know, everything is just a little bit different, even though there's a lot of similarities because it's North America, right? So the economy is similar, just the structure is similar. But anyway, I love Canada, and I definitely can't wait to visit. I was supposed to go in June, but that trip got canceled, obviously.
I was supposed to go in March, and then again this month, and again Delta canceled my flights. Pardon?
Do you still have friends and family? See, you say pardon. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Do you still have friends and family in Canada?
Absolutely. My parents still live in Canada. I have brothers and sisters that are in Canada, nieces and nephews in Canada. And I usually go home for like 6 to 8 weeks out of the year, right before it gets cold. Okay. And it's so funny. I'll be like, yeah, I'm going back home for 6 weeks. And people are like, is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, I can work from anywhere. You know, like, I don't have to be anywhere. And I'd really like to be. And that's one thing that I love about going back home is it's like I get to be the baby. Like, take off Sarah Fontenot jacket, take off powerhouse woman. Oh no, my mom cooks like every meal. We laugh and joke. We look at the birds out the back window. Like, it's just so awesome.
How did your family wind up in Saskatchewan?
Okay, so I have 1,000,008 brothers and sisters. My parents love each other way too much. And my mom is from Windsor, Ontario. My dad was born and raised in Compton, California. Oh, wow. And so I don't really know the story because I don't ask a lot of questions, but I know that they met. My dad was in university, and my mom was like this, like, no. She was like she was very intelligent, but she's so beautiful, and she had no idea just the package that she was in, you know? And my dad was a Mac, 6'8", light skin, freckles on his face. Like he was the man, right? And he got all the ladies, and my mom was like, oh no, go be with your girls, and I'm gonna be your friend. You can be my friend. And my dad was like, okay, cool, thinking his Mac ways would work on my mom. Long story short, didn't work out. And then every time my dad fell in love with my mom, cut everybody off. And then every time my mom wanted to get her master's in engineering, but she would have another baby. And so she thought that Regina, Saskatchewan had the best courses offered. And we were only supposed to be there for 5 years, and 20 whatever years later, they're still there.
Wow. So there's an economic lesson in the story of your parents dating, and it's scarcity creates demand, right?
Yeah.
If something is too readily available, it's not desirable, right?
Facts. If everybody can have it, I don't want it.
So how does that apply to business and even to dating, would you say?
Say it one more time.
How would you apply that to business or even dating?
I would, as far as business goes, I 1,000% feel that. Like, I have high ticket one-on-one coaching, and I am super selective with who I work with. And it's like a solid, when I first started, it was $5,000. And then after getting into the work of how much work that you actually do, it's like, oh no, $5,000 isn't enough, right?
Wow.
Like it's not. So now for me, yeah, there's a lesser amount of people that'll do my training, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
I have an abundant mindset in the scarcity of the fact that everybody's not willing to put thousands of dollars behind their training, isn't willing to invest that, or they don't have it, and that's okay. You know, you get it how you get it. I learned a lot of stuff from YouTube. I'm not even gonna lie. So it's not to say that you need to have a coach, a one-on-one coach, but I really and truly feel like there's a market for absolutely everything. And then it goes back to your belief. Do you believe that you can actually do what it is that you're promising you're going to do? Do you believe that you can actually add value and solve people's problems? Because for me, now that I know, and that's ingrained inside of me, there's no way that I would even consider doing one-on-one coaching back when I was like, I'll do it for free. I would never do that now,
right.
You know? So,
so what are some criteria, just, I mean, not specific to your actual clients, but just general criteria for you to consider, or what would someone do to qualify for something at that level of coaching?
It's a mindset. I do pre-qualifying questions because sometimes people feel entitled, you know, and they feel entitled to you, your energy, your efforts, your time. And I won't deal with entitled people. I also won't deal with people that aren't coachable, right? So what is your teachability index? I love.
I'm literally taking notes right now.
Okay, great. I love Your Wish is Your Command. You can find, it's like 14-hour-long videos on YouTube. And I really strongly feel like if you aren't coachable, like I can give you all the information in the world. I can give you all the tools, strategy in the world. But if you aren't going to do the work on yourself and in your business, you're not going to mess up my brand and my success rate, right? So are you coachable? Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to do the work? So after, you know, really just asking pre-qualifying questions, go from there. And then also, who are you listening to? That's one of the biggest things for me. And it's so funny because, how often do we hear, I'm like, how do I want to say this delicately. Sometimes
you don't have to be delicate.
Okay. Sometimes we are listening to people who are in the same situation as we are. When that's not where we actually want to be.
Right.
And so, you know, it'll be like, let's say you have an opportunity to invest in what is the word? Oh my gosh, a professional. When you can invest in a professional, but then you have your sister or your mom or your best friend or your cousin or your colleagues being like, you don't need to do it like that. Do it like this. But wait, we work together. So,
yeah.
So I don't want what you got. So who are you listening to plays a really,
tune out the sidelines. Yeah. Well, that's, you know, it's you should only take advice from people that you want to be like, right? And that's hard because there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of different opinions.
Yeah.
And how did you, I mean, not that Regina is a small town by any means, but compared to Los Angeles, it is, right? Most people don't realize, I don't know if you know this, there's more people in the state of California than all of Canada.
Yeah.
And most people are along the borderline.
Yeah.
So, but going from, you know, a big city in the sense of it's the capital of Saskatchewan, right?
It is.
Capital city.
Look at you! I'm so impressed.
Of a province. Well, I travel and I study, but I also live there. So how was that mindset shift of what was that process like going from Canada? I mean, I understand all the issues with immigration and the paperwork. Were you on a student visa, or how does that work?
Well, I'm a dual citizen, which is such a
Okay.
blessing because my dad's American.
There you go.
And so that part was easy. And I'm not going to lie and say that it was like, oh, it was just easy and I was just going to cannonball. It was actually a really toxic situation that was the final push me off the edge to run away, kind of, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But just keeping it all the way real. I've been engaged twice. And my first ex-fiance, I was almost paralyzed by him in a crazy situation. And so for me, it was me like, this is it. I am done. I am finished. I am getting out. And I had already had the opportunity to audition and get into a theater academy, and I got in. So because I got in, and it was everything happens for a reason, I literally wouldn't be who I am had I not had that experience. I never would have gone to California. So I'm actually really grateful, but a horrible lesson, right? And this is just on such a side note for me. What I've learned is the more that I don't listen, and whether it be infinite power, the universe, God, whatever you may call it, but that source thing that we all connect to, the more that I don't listen to source, the more aggressively, or I guess the further I get off track, right? And I feel like it's the more aggressively I have to get pulled back, because I know that there's a purpose and a calling on my life. And so when I say, like, I really believe that all things are happening for our good, if it doesn't kill me, it's just to add to my story. It's all a part of my story. And so I have these life mantras that I like filter everything through. And that was one of them. So honestly, it was one, I got accepted to a theater academy. They only accepted 14 to 20 people per semester. And then two, it was getting away from, a lot of people back home don't even know that happened, because I was so ashamed and I lied. I was like, I fell down the stairs and all types of crazy stuff. But
Sorry. Yeah, unfortunately, I dealt with a similar situation growing up with my dad. And so, I was the same way. I couldn't leave the house fast enough. And as soon as I got the chance, I was gone. And it's funny because my mom was really wanting me to do this thing, and she was like pushing me in that direction. And I was trying to play basketball in college, and I really wanted to do that. And then my mom really wanted me to go to this church-based school in Canada, which was so random. And my dad was like trying to pay for me to do anything but that. And anyway, I felt like that source led me up there. And for me, it didn't really help me academically or career-wise. But what it did, well, it did actually. It opened my eyes to travel. It opened my eyes to different cultures and sensitivities and things like that. And I made some lifelong relationships that, although on paper, my path seems kind of random, like spiritually and socially, it couldn't have been better.
I agree.
Those relationships that I formed in those years, and we happened to have a contract working for Microsoft, and so we would travel North America doing all of Microsoft's events. That's when my eyes were open. And I remember, because a lot of my classmates from Canada were more conservative and introverted. Here I was, my dad's family's from Mexico, so I'm half like American, half Mexican. And just that vivacious, like energetic California Latin, like imagine that in Canada. You can imagine like conservative church folk that were not like, in my culture, it's rude if you don't, especially if someone's older, you like kiss them on the cheek, or even on the, like I kissed my dad on the lips. Like that was our culture. In Canada, like you're lucky to even get a handshake.
Yes. Not in Saskatchewan though, we do hug. We are big time huggers. We're very huggy.
Yeah, it's not because people aren't loving. It's just like it's more of a, obviously the colder a place is, the
yes. Right. I love that.
For sure. But for me, it was just once I got there and saw what was possible, because I think all those things you talk about, understanding, hearing that inner voice and trusting. For me at this point, finally, I'm going to be 36 in 2 months. And I feel like for the first time, in my mid 30s is the first time I really started to listen to my own. I had that intuition, but I just didn't have the courage to maybe follow through on some things. I think it's a combination of part of it is we're young and we're dumb and we're rebellious and we're impulsive. That's part of it. The other part of it is when we go through something like what you're talking about, where there's abuse, it's not even once the physical pain of that abuse is gone, it still leaves those scars.
Right.
And the thing about the scars is it's not that they still hurt. What it is it changes the texture, so to speak, of our heart or our mind, right? And
Yeah.
so it changes. So, water flows through wherever there's crevices, right? So imagine, God's trying to do something through you, but it keeps hitting that same spot. And instead of flowing, it diverts in the wrong direction because that scar is there, or that divot is there, so to speak. So for me, I spent most of my 20s, what people call maybe self-sabotage or whatever it might be, where you keep repeating the cycle. And there just comes a point where, and it happens different for different people, where you just have to take back control. And this whole thing happening recently has really just been more confirmation of because I've always had a heart to prepare, to help people, to be a resource. And now I was holding back my personal goals because doing them for myself wasn't enough. But now I see, shit, I better be better prepared. So if that means I need to be successful in business, I'll be successful in business. If I need to overcome the insecurities that will allow me to do that, then I'm going to do that, because I'm never going to get caught unprepared like I was this time.
Yeah, I love that. And it's crazy because I in my course, I actually teach on this, where we are either developing limiting beliefs, but out of our limiting beliefs come what's called strong suits. And so I didn't realize, and really, I've done so much work on myself. So this
I've
time,
heard
for those of you,
yeah.
So you can have strongholds or strong suits, right?
Yeah.
And so I like inside of this virus, while everyone is really being forced to stay home, now is the time to do that deep healing. Thank you so much. And so what I mean by that is, when I look at my past, right? When I was in grade 6, there was a girl, and I'm not going to say her name, but growing up, I was really messy. So my dad ruptured a disc in his back when I was really young. My mom was studying to get her master's in engineering, had all of us kids, taking care of my dad, and had a full-time job. So needless to say, my mom and dad did their best, but granted the circumstances, there was a lot of time where telling your kids to get up and make their bed and make sure everything is tidy, that wasn't really on the forefront of anyone's mind. It was survival, right? Let me make sure my kids are fed. Let me make sure that they have a roof over their head. And I'm so grateful, because in that time, I learned so much resilience. And I only know that really looking back in hindsight. I didn't even know that until I did so. And so I give that context to say, I was really dirty growing up. Like, I mean, gross. Like, I wouldn't shower for days. My room was a mess. Back in Regina, Saskatchewan, we don't have roaches. But if there were roaches, I would have had roaches in my room, because I was so dirty. Like, I kid you not. And now I could talk about it. I could laugh about it. And so I remember when I was in grade 6, I wanted to be cleaner, right? And there was this girl in my grade, and I was like, hey, I really want to be clean like you. I really want to have, she was like Miss Muffet, right? She had the perfect parents. Her dad was a police officer. Her mom was a stay-at-home mom. Like, everything was put in a perfect place. And this is my perception in grade 6. Now I know nothing is perfect. It's all work, right? But grade 6, Sarah was like, I want to be like this girl. And so I invited her over to my house to play. And I said, before you come over, I want you to know I don't live like you. My house is not clean like yours, but I'm really trying to be cleaner. I want to try to be more like you. So I'm really taking you into my space, but please don't tell anyone what you see, right? So she came over to my house, and the next day when I went to school, she had told everyone how dirty I was, how gross I was, and now outside of all of this stuff and me having to deal with the pressure, and I've always been like, let that fall off my back. But what I didn't know is that I created a story that said, if you let people in, they'll betray you. So at the age of 10 or whatever age, 11, young Sarah said, if I let you in, you'll betray me. And because we will, no matter what, find a way to validate whatever story we believe to be true. And so subconsciously now, I started choosing people that would validate that truth for me. Being abused, right? And being in an abusive relationship. My best girlfriend, when I tell you I have been done wrong in the craziest ways, but I have to take responsibility for that, because I was funneling everything in my life through this vision of, if I let you in, you'll betray me. And if I have to have that be true, then I'm subconsciously going to choose people that may not have a strong mindset, that may be more weak-willed, or maybe are more susceptible to pressures from other people.
Different moral compass, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And so I attracted that by what I believed. Now, at the same time, the strong suit that performed for me and that turned into is now when I tell you everything is in its place, like no one can ever say I'm dirty ever. Like right. All of I'm actually a little OCD. Like my canisters face forward, my skincare line is all laid out, my bed is made, you know, and so I'm grateful for that, because I needed that, you know, I needed that portion, but I didn't know until I was 28 that I was even doing that. Even with men, like I was self-sabotaging myself as far as relationships go. I was choosing people that I knew would betray me because I needed to validate that story. And so I would say, you know, as we do all have this time and we all are going over this COVID, stay in the house, whatever it may be, I would really, stop it. I would really say that for us, it is an opportunity to heal those wounds and go back to the stories that we told ourselves. Go back to those stories and then rewrite it. Because we're the director, we're the actor, we're the producer. We get to decide how this story ends. If you choose to stay there, it's like that quote, I think it's Bill Gates, maybe it's Warren Buffett. Like, if you were born broke, that's not your fault. But if you die broke, that is your fault. So if you were born into a broken family, that's not your fault. But choosing to stay broken, that is your fault.
Yeah, and I think most people just kind of repeat not only the cycle, but they repeat the story, right?
Yeah.
And I think deep down, everybody kind of has that voice that says that they want more, they're meant for more, but that other voice is kind of overpowering, and you have to, like, that's that inner battle. You know, something I've learned that's powerful recently is not every thought you think is yours.
Facts.
Right?
Most of them aren't.
So most of them aren't. So having the ability to really process and filter those, but especially if they come through a voice, whether it's a parent or a pastor or a significant other that's supposed to be a source of trust and love, and then that source betrays you, that is almost more devastating. For me, I think I punished myself long enough and made those choices in the same cycle you're talking about, confirming that belief and reinforcing that negative belief enough to the point where I got myself to that breaking point. And when I, unfortunately, my mom passed away a couple of years ago of cancer, and obviously that was very difficult for all the obvious reasons. But in a weird way, it was also liberating, because it was kind of like that story, that version, and that's hard to say, right? Obviously, but in a way, it was one of those turning points, because so much of my codependency or anxiety or stress, I realized she was a big source of that. So even though my dad was the abusive one, the abuse comes in all different forms. And I think sometimes the people that are more aggressive are deemed to be abusive, but a lot of times it's more subtle, it's more deceptive, it's more, you know, and sometimes sometimes abuse can be a moment, right? It can be an event that happens a long time ago, maybe not affect you, but some of that other more, you know, subconscious, subtle, little cultural things that people say about money or about lifestyle or about relationships, that can almost affect us more than those bigger moments of abuse. And so just sorting through all that, and as disappointed as I was because those behaviors led to relationships not working out, whether it be romantically or business-wise, and there came a point where all kinds of things all at once fell apart for me a couple years ago. And as devastating as that was, like I said, it was also liberating. And it was finally to the point where I went, you know what? I'm done. Whoever I was, whatever narrative I was living under, like, that's over now.
Right.
And even though I feel like I'm owed money or I'm owed situations or owed opportunities, the good news, taking that on the chin, taking responsibility, now I don't owe anyone or anything else anything. So whatever I build from here is mine and mine alone. And if that's the price I had to pay for that education and for that freedom, then it was worth it.
I love that. I love that. And I would say too, one of the things that I've really taken on is taking responsibility for where I allow people to go in my life. And sometimes, you know, just because someone has a label doesn't mean that that's who they are. So as an example, let's say my best friend, right? Sometimes our best friends, we fall into best friendship because we're around each other. They're the law of association, right? And so you see this person all the time, and it's like, oh, well, you're my best friend. When in all reality, no, that's not your best friend, because a best friend is someone you can confide in, someone that'll take your secrets. Like me and my tribe, we have this thing called vault life. If it comes in out of my mouth, but if vault life comes, it's never coming out. Like, and I know that now. Whereas in the past, I was just allowing anyone and everyone. And even sometimes, you know, parent, brother, sister, just because they have that label doesn't mean that that's who they're being to you. And not to say that you have to cut off, you know, your friends and your family members, but to say you've got to allow yourself to put people where they should have been. So instead of best friend, maybe it's acquaintance, right? You can still treat them with love and respect. Instead of mother, maybe it's, you know, I'm so grateful this is the person that gave birth to me. But if they don't act like a mother, you're not wrong for putting them into a different box of who they're actually being. So I would just, one of the things that I do, I take full responsibility for however anyone acts in my life, because what I'm clear on is a label does not make you who you are. You show me who you are, and that's the label I'm going to put on you.
For sure. For sure. And I think because the people that, when I started to realize that I was, the abuse then has long-lasting negative effects. And it's almost like the pain is double, because not only did something happen initially, but because of the effect on you, it robs the people that actually do care about you and the people you're actually supposed to reach. It robs them from getting the best version of yourself. I remember I got the chance to work with one of my best friends and business partners, and I had to apologize to her almost on the daily basis, because I'm like, I'm so sorry that we finally get to work together, and this is the version of me that you get. Because it was right when all that stuff came crashing down, and I was just like numb, basically, just kind of getting up each day and walking through it. And literally, both physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, everything, literally had to crawl out of a hole, build back brick by brick. But when you're going through that, all the people that were the real people show themselves, and the fake people also show themselves. And so in a way, it sounds so cliche, but you can only say it with conviction when you've actually been through it. The hard times do produce the best times, and they do produce the best version of you.
You know, some of the people that we know most around the world as successful, I'm talking multi-millionaires and billionaires, all started from their own financial crisis, like a personal financial crisis, or a world recession, or a country's recession. And so right now, like, and at the beginning of the call, you said, you know, for some people, this is going to be a blessing. And for some people, you know, it is what it is. But for every person, it's an opportunity for it to be a blessing. The question is, are you going to look at it that way? Because literally, again, it's what story are you telling yourself? What narrative are you subscribing to? Because if I'm choosing to believe that, you know, things are never going to be the same, jobs are going to be lost, the world is falling, everything is going bad, like, okay, I get it. And not to be insensitive, because my heart goes out to every single person that's been affected or passed away with this disease or virus or whatever it is. But I mean, realistically, there will always be something happening where people lose their lives. And if it's not your life that's been lost, then it's an opportunity for you to use that to be the hope that people need, to be the light that people need. And I think what people forget, especially for entrepreneurs that are on this call, is I just spoke on a call not too long ago at this event called Real Social Proof. Amazing. You got to hear from a lot of crazy and amazing leaders in the space. And, you know, if you are an entrepreneur right now, people are looking for hope. People are looking for certainty. And if you want your business to grow, then focusing on the death rate, focusing on all the things that are going wrong, focusing on that is not going to help you or anyone else. It really just creates more fear. And the thing about fear is it's not even real, right? Like, it literally does not exist. Like, it's the story that we create based off of a thought that we've had. And just because it's true for you doesn't mean it's the truth, right? How many times have you heard people say, you know, this virus is gonna, the recession is coming, and the housing market's gonna crash, and that is all worst case scenario, which, by the way, none of it has actually happened. One of my favorite quotes is, faith and fear both require you to believe in something that hasn't happened yet. So why would you choose a crippling thought instead of choosing an empowering thought? Fear isn't real. It's a story created around a thought that provokes more thoughts, and then that's what you choose to believe. So believe differently, and you can change everything for you.
That's awesome. I totally agree. One of the things for me that I think there's a danger in people that are in the entrepreneur motivation space. If you've ever read The Secret or anything like that, or you subscribe to Thinking Positively or whatever, all that is really good. Sometimes it's disconnected from reality in a good way. Sometimes it's disconnected from reality in a bad way, in the sense that people sometimes that are saying those things, they don't consider reality or consider how people are feeling as they go through this. So for me, I take what you've said very much to heart, but then also for me, the faith isn't in the circumstances, because I don't so much care actually what happens. It's more the faith is in myself, because I know whatever happens, I can survive. So like you said, instead of focusing on the statistics, instead of focusing on the charts and graphs, of course you need to be informed and educated, but there's a fine line between that and obsessing over negativity, right? And so how do you take that and determine that internal resolve? How did you go when you came from Canada to California? How did you build that from starting in California to where you are now?
Oh man, starting in California, I was a broke, struggling student, mentor, teacher, dancer, actor, model. Like I was just trying to get it however, and I always share in my story. And you know, for those of you that know me, you know I was the girl that struggled to pay my rent every single month. I got sued for $3,500 when I moved out of my apartment, because in the 4 years that I lived there, I paid my rent twice on time. You know, so I always tell people, like, you don't even really know real humiliation until you go put $3 on pump 5. And not because you're in a rush and you got stuff to do, but because that's literally all the money that you have. And so that's where I came from. But I knew that my circumstance and my situation was not who I was. And I didn't know at the time. You know, I was going to school, I was doing the deal. I didn't know that I created an underlining mindset that said, no matter what happens, this is all a part of my story. And so even inside of network marketing, when I started, it wasn't like, boom, got it. Like, no, I struggled my first year into the company trying to build something, not knowing what to do, not figuring out my structure. Like, what does that look like? There's always going to be a learning curve whenever you take on something new. And so for me, starting and what it looks like was knowing that I had to have vision over sight. Knowing that it didn't matter what it looked like right now, because I know where I'm going. And I was certain that literally, if it doesn't kill me, this is going to be that thing that catapults me into greatness. And there's so many things. I mean, I always share in my story, like my car that squeaked on every block, then it crashed itself. Don't ask me questions. That's just how it happened, right? I had to take the bus, 2 buses and a train, because I knew that success does not come to me. I had to go to it. Some of us are waiting for success to come and fall from the sky, but the only thing that falls from the sky is the rain, right? And so I got really crystal clear that I had to have the mindset. The reason why most people will never be successful is not because of the strategy. It's not even because they don't have an amazing product. It's because they don't believe in themselves. It's because they're not willing to bet all in on them. It's because they aren't certain in the value that they bring. I'm telling you right now, there are people, and for those of you that are listening right now, guys, I am telling you right now that there are people that are far less qualified, quote unquote, whatever that means, far less qualified than you, you know, far less smarter, whatever that means, than you, far less attractive, whatever that means, than you, doing way better than you, because they chose to take action instead of sit and think about it. And the only thing that an entrepreneur gets paid for is a result. And so for me, I really just, and that's why, like, even in my course, it's why I so heavily focus on mindset, because you have to believe all of this stuff happening. How many people got like shooken up, like, I don't know if I'm gonna, no, it means you've got to adapt. Are you willing to come out of this better no matter what? And that's a personal choice, you know?
That's so good. Yeah, that's so good. What, obviously it starts with mindset, but what would you say are some practical ideas? some practical
Right.
ideas to get, I said, obviously it all starts with mindset, but what are some practical ideas? Obviously you were built for this. So a lot of people like yourself, and even for me where I'm at, are going to be able to thrive through this, because I think leadership shines in moments like this. And I think if you're already an entrepreneur, you're already a hustler, you're already working online remotely, you're going to be able to pivot, no problem. For the people that are used to having a regular job, or their kids are out of school now for the rest of the year, what are some practical tips you would give to people to pivot in this moment right now and come out of this better off?
I would say, so I'm going to give a little list if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Number one, I would say decide who you want to be. Now, when I say who, I mean, how do you want to make other people feel? How do you want to be a contribution? Who do you want to be as a parent, as a significant other, as a daughter? Who do you want to be like? Who do you want, when you think about the people that you look up to, how do they walk? What languages do they speak? Who do you want to be? Now, once you know who you want to be, you can identify where you're actually at, right? And you can see the distance and the work that actually takes. So let's say for me, I'm really clear on this planet, and I'm speaking it. I don't care. And I know that it's a very cliche thing now these days, and it's not cliche for me. This is my life, because I know the level I want to give on the planet. It has nothing to do with the money. It has everything to do with the contribution. I'm a billionaire. Like, already I'm a billionaire. Y'all just haven't seen it yet. Like, I'm really crystal clear.
I believe it.
Yeah, and even if I slip and fall and I land on 300 million, I'm grateful for that. Right? And this is the thing that people forget. Now, anything that makes you ask how means you don't really believe yet, right? And so a lot of the times people will tell you, well, speak affirmations. And so if you are just struggling to pay your rent, and you're like, I'm a billionaire, in your soul, you do not believe that you're a billionaire. Right. And what that does is it actually repels what it is that you want to do, instead of attracts what it is that you want to bring in, right? And so when it comes to actionable steps, and when it comes to affirming, what I've started to do and really take on, I heard this from one of my good girlfriends, is instead of saying, I am a billionaire, you say, I am becoming the kind of person who. And then you write the things out that are in alignment. I am becoming the kind of person who can do 5 follow-ups a day. I am becoming the kind of person who can get 5 new clients a day. I am becoming the kind of person who can be consistent in my morning regimen. I am becoming the kind of person who is committed to sharpening my skills. I am becoming the kind of person who is getting around the people who are the doers. I am becoming, and when you become that type of person, over time, it's going to increase not only your action, not only your action is going to create more progress, but it's just going to create more belief, right? The more that you believe, the more that you're willing to act like it. And it's our actions that shift our future. So I would say, decide who you want to be, affirm it with actions that are in alignment, right? Actions that are in alignment with who it is that you want to be. And then I would say believe. Now, some of people on the live, or if you get a chance to hear this later, you might be like, well, how do you believe, Sarah? It is 5 simple steps. Number 1, repeat. Repetition. If you say it enough, eventually what happens is, like, let's say I'm a billionaire. I bought fake billionaire dollar bills off of Amazon. I got them in my wallet. I have them on my ceiling. I have them on my vision board. I am a billionaire. What happens when you start to repeat? It creates awareness, right? It's like the car that you buy. You buy whatever car that you buy, you start to see that car everywhere. Not because now there's suddenly more of those cars driving, because you're more aware of it, right? Your repetition creates your awareness. Your awareness is what's going to create your evaluation of it. How far away is that thing from me? A lot of the times when you talk to successful people, they say, I wish I would have shot higher. I wish I would have dreamed bigger, right? Because if it's not on the radar, you know what I mean? Like, you can't see it. If you only, I just did this I have an ultimate self-love guide that I give away for free. And in self-control, I talk about, if you only have ever seen a map of the United States, if someone comes to you and they start talking about Japan, but all you've ever known in your life is the United States, you're not going to believe anything that they say. But if you can come off of the United States and expand to what is possible out there, Now I know I can evaluate, okay, well, the Japan is 5,400 miles away from Los Angeles. I got to get through land. I got to get over water, but somehow, some way, I can figure it out. Go back to, I'm becoming the kind of person who, I'm becoming the kind of person who, I'm becoming the kind of person who. And what evaluation, because now you're becoming the kind of person who is actually doing those things that are the small bites instead of looking at the, you can't leap to Japan, right? You can't just jump there. Sorry, another call.
It's okay.
But you can commit to being consistent day in and day out. And what that action is going to do is create that progress. And that progress is going to become addicting so that you create more belief. And it's this cyclical thing: belief, repetition, awareness, evaluation, action, progress, belief. And it levels up, right? It's this cyclical thing that's ongoing. And so for me, I would say those steps. And then the last thing I would say is funnel everything in your life through your life mantra. So I have sayings that I say to myself, like, oh, I all things are happening for my good, even the bad. This is all a part of my story. Things go wrong so that life can go right. And because I have, like, if I have glasses on, right, or contact lenses, and that's how I see everything, even when bad things happen, it's like, oh, well, something better is about to go down, you know? Right. And I so strongly feel like it's those things that create your belief. Anybody can just repeat to themselves more and more and more. Anybody can create more awareness. Anybody can evaluate where they are based on their goal. Anybody can get to action, and anybody can create progress. But are you willing to be okay with the baby steps until the baby steps add up to the mile, to the marathon, to the flight? You know, are you really willing to go the distance and be okay with starting one step at a time?
That's awesome. But we just got a couple more minutes left. I want to see if anybody who's watching, if you press the question button at the bottom, you can ask a question of Sarah. Maybe we have time for one or two, and then we'll be done. If anybody has a question for Sarah, just hit the question box at the bottom and go ahead and post it.
Woo woo.
I know we've had a couple throughout. You are on fire, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So are you.
So one thing I have asked everyone that I've been able to do this live with is that when, you know, we're permitted to go back out again, are you open to doing a proper podcast and blog with, like, in the studio or maybe a day in the life kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So Ray working, obviously, I'm sure you get this a lot. Sarah, are you single?
We're all single till we're married, and I'm not married.
I like that. Oh, he said, my bad, supposed to be professional. You had to shoot a shot.
Shoot or shoot. I'm not mad.
Awesome. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions that come in. So for you, what is the next? Obviously, you've achieved a certain level of success, which you should definitely be proud of and own, which is awesome. But what for you, obviously, billionaire is the end goal. What is the next couple big goals? Okay, before you answer that, when does the book come out?
Everyone says that. I don't know. One day. It's coming, though. I got a book in here somewhere.
You do. And if I can help in any way, let me know. But the question is, what are those next, you know, short-term goals for you?
Within the next 5 years, I'm going to make $10 million. I'm excited to give away. I want to get to a place within the next 10 years, I want to be able to give away $1 million a month. And whether that be through resources, whether that be through opportunities, whether that be through actual cash, whether that be buying houses for people, purchasing houses, creating programs for foster women, showing women that people really, but I love women, sorry guys, that we get to be, do, and have whatever we want to be, do, and have, creating sanitation for cleaner water in third world countries. Like, I am excited to give it all away. I like, you know, you get to a point where you get all the stuff. I just want to make sure that my family is taken care of, and I want to be a contribution on the planet, and I want to be able to be one of those people where someone says, you know what, if Sarah did it, I can do that too, but I'm going to take it one step further. So that's awesome. That's my goal in the next 5 years, 5 to 10, really.
I love it. So it's not a great words. Thank you, Crystal. She's also an entrepreneur, awesome power lady. I love your vision. I definitely have a similar vision, and I think that's why, you know, we were able to connect online and become friends. So I super appreciate your time. I know that you're very busy, and I appreciate you investing in all of our mutual friends here. I'll definitely record this and post it to YouTube, so I'll send you a link. But thank you again so much for your time. I'd love to stay connected, and you added so much value to us today. I mean, like you said, you coach people at a high level, and I feel like you just did that with us for the last hour. Okay, here's Kristen's question. She said, how have you pivoted during these times? Any masterminds that you're part of?
Yes, absolutely. I am a part of masterminds. And pivoting for me, not a lot has changed. Honestly, my businesses are fairly self-sustaining. I'm just doing more. I'm excited to add more value. I'm excited to be certainty. People right now, I would say the biggest pivot that any entrepreneur just starting or any entrepreneur that's really trying to stake their claim, people need certainty. People need hope. And the more that you can give that to them, a really powerful question. Powerful people ask powerful questions, right? A powerful question to ask yourself is, who are you going to be remembered as during this time? And when you can get crystal clear on that, and that's in alignment with, you know, whatever your goals may be, everything will change for you. And for me, I know I want to be remembered as a person that was being a light, that was bringing hope, that was adding value, providing suggestions, you know, just fun things that I can do. The other day I did a post on things that you can do in this time. Create an email get your email marketing, do your, you know, like little.
But that was so money.
Thank you. Thank you. So just creating, you know, there's so much opportunity in this time that we have. So that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. How can people find you and support you moving forward?
Oh, thank you. Ms. Sarah Fontenot is my Instagram, MSSarahFontenot. So it looks like Ms. MS Sarah Fontenot, but it's pronounced Fontenot. I'm that on every platform. My website is www.disruptoreliteGroup.com. That's where my online course is for entry-level entrepreneurs, where I heavily focus on mindset. We do get to strategy, but really the tools that I've personally used and the stories that I share in order for people to use the tools to be their own driving force and to get out of their own way. Because a lot of times people just can't get over themselves or like get out the way. And
so
then,
one more time, the website, obviously people have you here on IG, the website, so I can pin it here.
DisruptorEliteGroup.com. Longest name ever. Didn't think that through at all.
Elite.
DISRUPTOR Elite ELITE Group.com.
Hopefully that's right.
OR Elite Group.
Or with the OR.
Yes.
Disruptor OR, guys. Sorry.
Yes, yes. No, I love it. I love it. I'm grateful. And then so that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be in touch.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.